Shore Unitarian Congregation Sunday service. Today we're going to be considering heartbreak to gratitude. Heartbreak to gratitude is our theme of the day. I want to address a couple things before we get started. First of all, you all might think that ministry can be difficult, and it can be. But I actually have help. Last night, that help came in the form of a Sun Devil victory over UCLA, putting us in sole possession of first place in the South. Go Devils! It also came in the help earlier this week of a merry band of heroes who responded to a desperate call when that massive rainstorm we had actually resulted in the flooding of our basement. And so I would like to acknowledge, and if you would please stand, Jim Stevenson, Judith Radford, Tom Furlowton, and Mark Mayall. Also, just in time for us to have accomplished our first Sunday of Spirit Zones last week. Did you guys enjoy that, by the way? Was that good? Good. Just in time for us to have successfully, more or less, accomplished that, we're not doing it today. We are instead holding a town hall right here in this room. If you're not interested in the town hall, if you're a young person or just simply hold no water there, you can go hold no water. That wasn't the right thing, but you know what I'm saying. You can go downstairs and there will be games and snacks and stuff like that. After service, we who remain up here for the reflection will go down, grab a cup of coffee, grab a bagel, and in 15 minutes you'll be called back up. So take care of your business, and if you want to bring your drinks and food back into here, you can. Just be careful, and afterwards bring the scraps and plates and put them where they ought to go. At that town hall meeting, of course, it's about a heavy subject, maybe. It's about an interesting subject, a subject that's caused some controversy and some high emotions in some instances. And I just want to encourage us to enter that space with curiosity and with gentleness. We are one people here. So let's keep our hearts first. Today, our service associate is Cynthia, welcoming her from the booth where she often sits as the production team chair, another heroic job into the service associate, and so I turn the proceedings over into your capable hands. Thank you.
Well, we are going to do a very special chalice lighting today. So to signal the onset of our shared sacred time, I'd like to invite Sarah Stevenson, Jonathan Fountain, and Harper up to the front. I know you're here. There you are. So just a little bit about these three, who are my neighbors, by the way, in wonderful False Creek. When they came to NSUC, they were looking for a Unitarian congregation that would help them as parents to guide Harper in her spiritual growth, and they definitely found that and more. But did you know that they consider otters as the divine? And that when Harper was 3, she sold tiny packages of tissues at her great-grandmother's funeral, where the funeral home was giving them away for free. So do seek them out for some other interesting stories. Finally, they find that NSUC offers them a chance each week to step outside the hectic patterns of daily life, to reflect on what really matters to them, and to connect with people who welcome them wherever they are, whoever they show up, with love. So, we kindle this flame as a symbol of our gathering. In the light of understanding, illuminate our darkness. May the warmth of sharing bring us peace. All right. Didn't burn anything. That's great. Thank you, guys. Welcome to the North Shore Unitarian Church, where our mission is to empower people to live with greater depth, meaning, and purpose. In this community, we celebrate people from all walks of life, no matter how you experience the sacred, no matter who you are or who you love. We hope you will feel welcome here. So now it's time to sing. So please rise in body and in spirit, or in spirit, both if you care, and join in singing these 3 songs. The words are going to be up on the screen and in the order of service for those of you who are watching from home.
So the first song we're going to be singing is called Bright Morning Star, and it goes like this. Do I have an A? Bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising. Day is a-breaking in my soul. So it's just one first phrase that we then repeat 3 times. It goes like this. So I'll do the first phrase. Bright morning star arising, with me. Bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising. Day is a-breaking in my soul. Again. Bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising. Day is a-breaking in my soul. Fantastic. The second part goes like this. Bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising. Day is a-breaking in my soul. So if you have a lower voice, go with that one. 2, 3. Bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising. Day is a-breaking in my soul. So let's put it together, and I'll call out the different verses. 2, 3. Bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising. Day is a-breaking in my soul. Rise up from morning slumber. 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 Day is a-breaking in my soul. Rise up and hear your calling. 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 Day is a-breaking in my soul. Oh, lift your voice to heaven. 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 Day is a-breaking in my soul. We'll build this faith. We'll build this faith together. We'll build this faith together. We'll build this faith together. Day is breaking in my soul. Bright morning star rising. Bright morning star rising. Bright morning star rising. Bright morning star rising. Day is breaking in my soul. Beautifully done, everybody. Please sit down for the next song. This one is probably not what I would normally consider a sing-along song, but I just love it. Ron loves it, so we're doing it. I love the tension that's held in this song between a person who is feeling so despondent and that they're struggling so profoundly and so deeply. And the theme of it is Julian, Saint Julian, or martyr. Was she a martyr? Julian? And she said, all will be well, all will be well, all will be well, and all will be well. And this song really goes into the background behind that. I said, Julian, you are holy, you are holding my hand, and Julian, you are holy, you are holding my hand. She said, all will be well, all will be well, all manner of things will be well. I said, Julian, do you not know, about sorrow. And Julian, do you not know? Do you not know about pain? I said, Julian, do you not know? Do you not know about hunger? And Julian, do you not know? Do you not know about shame? She said, all will be well, all will be well, all manner of things will be well. I said, Julian, do you not know? Do you not know about loneliness? And Julian, do you not know? Do you not know about disease? I said, Julian, do you not know? Do you not know about cruelty? I said, Julian, it's too much. It brought me to my knees. She said, all will be well, all will be well, all manner of things will be well. She said, no one does not know about sorrow, and no one does not know about pain. She said, no one does not know about hunger, and no one does not know about shame. She said, all will be well, all will be well, all manner of things will be well. She said, no one does not know about loneliness, and no one does not know about disease. She said, no one does not know about cruelty. She said, I know it's too much. It brought me to my knees. And she said, all will be well, all will be well, all manner of things will be well. I said, Julian, you are holy, you are holding my hand. And Julian, you are holy, you are holding my hand. She said, all will be well, all will be well, all manner of things will be well. She said, baby girl, do you not know about tenderness? And baby girl, do you not know about friends? She said, baby girl, do you not know the Spirit? She said, baby girl, do you not know it's only love that never ends? And so all will be well, all will be well, all manner of things will be well. And so all will be well, all will be well, all manner of things will be well. Let's finish our group of songs with Much Beloved. How could anyone ever tell you? How could anyone anything less than beautiful. How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to. Let's do it again. Try making up some parts. How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to. Please rise. Let's sing it again. How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected. Oh, it's so beautiful. Let's just do it one more time. How could anyone ever tell you that you're anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul.
I don't know how you could do it one more time. I couldn't even do it one time. It doubles as a tissue. Oh. Please join me in a spirit of prayer. Oh, as we turn our attention to these essential elements that frame us and give us body and life, we thank you, Sun, for your energy. We thank you, Earth, for our senses and holding us close, for our bodies. We thank you, Water, for life. We thank you, Air, for the breath that sustains that life and for being the medium of our connection here as we sit and pray and meditate together on this sacred land maintained for centuries and generations by the Tsleil-Waututh and Squamish peoples, and we hope to be good stewards as they were and to be better stewards than we have been. We pray today for healing for all those bodies who are suffering, for all the bodies who are suffering from this pandemic, for all the souls who are suffering from isolation, for a society that feels divided, for a culture that has seemingly lost the ability to think together. We pray for the healing of our hearts and our bodies, and for our words to be healing words. This time I'd invite Laura up to share with us some milestones in the congregation, to include these milestones in our prayerfulness and in our considerations.
Good morning. Sharing our milestones, our joys and concerns connects us as a congregation and as human beings. And this morning, we have 3. Suzanne and Hans Krebs went camping to celebrate their 46th wedding anniversary. Wayne and Marge are celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary. 56th. What's a year or two? Today, B. Egger is joining us for the first time since the beginning of the pandemic. She celebrated her 99th birthday on September the 22nd. She's a founding member of this congregation. She's served the board and the PNWD. Her children and grandchildren have been members of this congregation as well. Good morning and welcome, and congratulations.
I will add the last stone, which is appropriate for today. It's got the word gratitude inscribed on it, and I don't know how it came into my possession. You gave it to me. Now we know. Well, thank you. Thank you. And so on behalf of the congregation, that our hearts may be filled through this sharing with gratitude, I offer this into the waters that we gather together in our water communion. To this connection with one another, with the world, with ourselves, our spirits, and our collective spirit, I say amen, amen, amen. If there's any of the youngsters that want to come up and hang out with me for just a little bit before you go down and get your snacks, I'd invite you up right now. I have a question for you. And I see you've got your fidgets. That's pretty cool. Let's try not to tie my feet together this time. I'm going to sit down right now so that doesn't happen. Oh, I just gave you a good idea, unfortunately, I think. That was a mistake. How is everybody this morning? Tired? Yep, tired. They had a wakeover last night. 1 hour of sleep. Yeah, I have a question for you. We're going to talk about today, after you all go down for some snacks and stuff, the rest of us are going to talk about how to change heartbreak into gratitude. And so what I want you to do right now, I'm going to ask you to do something a little bit difficult, okay? I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. That's not hard, but close your eyes. You all can close your eyes too. And I want you to think about a time where you lost something or someone. It could be a person, a cat, an experience, where you actually, it could be a place. Okay, just hold on to it. This is a silent exercise. Remember that place right now, and in that loss, see if you can connect to the sadness that's there. See if you can connect to that grief over whatever event or person or being that was. It's kind of sad. Does anyone want to tell me one? Yeah, what is it?
Grandma Janet, when she had cancer, it was really scary.
Mm-hmm.
And when she passed away, I was really sad, but I knew she'd be not in pain.
So Grandma Janet, when Grandma Janet passed away, that was a big loss. Do you have any over here that you want to share? Any losses or sadness? So here's the thing. Okay, yes, one more.
When Buttercup got chewed by Ruby.
Yeah, when our dog ate our hamster, that was also sad.
At least Ruby.
No, we don't have to do that.
At least Ruby wouldn't mistake her as a choo-choo.
Yeah, so mistakes were made. I want you all to think about that moment of grief. And I want to give you a little magic trick. What that grief really is love. It's love for the thing that is gone, the person, the being, the event, the place that is gone. It is love for that thing. And you can, if you close your eyes and think about that, feel that grief, you actually can learn the lesson from that grief, which is that love connects you to all these things and beings and places and persons. And you can, when you open your eyes on whatever you see and look at it with the same love that was calling out your grief. So whenever you are feeling sad about losing something, know that you're actually just expressing deep love for that, and that love never dies and isn't only for that thing, but can be applied to so many different places in your life. So that's it's a bit of a heavy thing, but I hope it's a hopeful thing too, because we're probably going to be sad again at some point. You might be sad that you're up here right now. I don't know. You're sad that you didn't get sleep. I know. Well, now you're going to have a chance to rest, and we're going to sing these kids down to play some games and have a treat. And we'll see you guys in about 15, 20 minutes or so. All right, congregation, can you help me out? I was so excited to make our children sad that I skipped Cynthia's reflection, which I'm sure is going to be amazing.
We go with the flow here. So I think your question to me was about gratitude. How did I find gratitude? Through heartbreak, actually. And I frankly don't think you... am I up? Oh, there I am. I don't see how you can actually get out of heartbreak without gratitude. And there's so many heartbreaks I probably had to think about, but today I want to tell you about my very first heartbreak that I can ever remember and how it led to an unexpected gratitude. So for those who know me, it would not be a stretch to imagine that I was a precocious child from the get-go. Born to very young parents, I know I was probably a handful, and subsequently there were many punishments that came down for my wild behavior. My middle brother, who's 3 years younger than I, was just starting to walk, and as a result, my mom ceremoniously gifted me my brother's baby stroller. And back then, those baby strollers were pretty large, right? And I could have those for my toys. We can all go on walks together. So she fixed it up with great care for me and brought it out to the front stoop and had me wait with my brother while she went in to get all of my stuff. Immediately, a large truck pulled up and started filling up with the garbage from the cans that were right next to us. And before I could say anything, the garbage man grabbed the stroller and threw it into the truck. My mother walked out just as they were starting to pull away, and she chased that truck on foot for blocks and blocks, but I guess we were the last stop that day, so that truck hightailed it out of there. So I was stunned. I couldn't speak, which I know for most people would be unusual for me. I was heartbroken because I was so looking forward to that and being a part of everything. And yet I was terrified of what might happen when my mom finally came back. Yet in the midst of my inevitable tears, I realized my mom didn't yell at me or blame me, but came over and swiftly came to my aid and comforted me on the horrible loss of the stroller. I mean, she dropped everything and put herself in harm's way, running down the middle of that street just for me. So that was the day that I realized she could be my advocate as well as my disciplinarian, which for a very young mother of 3 very young children and a husband who was out of town often was her modus operandi, sadly. But by the way, I dreamt about that carriage for years, imagining it at the top of some burning garbage heap, or maybe that was influenced by the movie poster at the time, Rosemary's Baby. So, welcome to my dreams. So now, please join with me in the spirit of generosity. Our plate collection for the fall will be shared with 3 organizations focused on food security. Seed Change, formerly known as the Unitarian Service Committee, works to support farmers and protect biodiversity. And Food Stash and the Quest Food Exchange both collect food that would otherwise go to waste and distribute it to organizations and individuals in need. Please give as generously as you are able, and will the ushers please prepare to take the offering?
I just want to say a brief word about this requiem that we're doing, this piece. It was written by Eliza Gilkison in direct response to the terrible tsunami of, I think it was 2003, I think, was it? 2004? Yeah, 2004 in January. So it was a truly heartfelt plea to a response to the images that were coming all over the world of the impact of that tsunami.
cannot tell you how good it feels to step into the pulpit. I love my job and I love what we do together. My road here, in some ways, started off in Ogden, Utah in 2011 and 12. That's where I served my internship. It was a congregation that had a long-standing relationship, so happens, with a few local GLBTQ plus focused organizations. I don't know if you know, but if you know, you can imagine that in that part of the world, Ogden, Utah, a welcoming religious home for GLBTQ plus folks was necessary and often life-saving. And those relationships that we had with those organizations called us into responsibility. Our love called us to act. You see, in that part of the world, at that time, it was legal to be fired or evicted for being anything other than straight and cisgendered. Quick definition if you need it: you're cisgendered if you identify with and as your anatomical birth sex. So we were called into action when an advocacy group sought to get legal protections at the municipal level so that no more could a person be fired or evicted for their identity. The night of the vote saw a couple of handfuls of UUs down at City Hall offering testimony and registering our support. And the council seemed amenable. But then, some representatives from a conservative Christian group spoke to their rights, as they termed it. In this case, their right to discriminate. And to our dismay, this was compelling to the council, burdened as they were by the religious predilections dominating that part of the world. Utah, of course, is the home of the Church of Latter-day Saints, and despite some really cool characteristics, that tradition is also steeped in a patriarchy that very much privileges hetero, straight, cisgendered men and puts everyone else in the passenger seat, back seat, or sometimes far worse. Of course, part of the reason why that state of affairs persists is because that dominant culture did not often find itself in proximity to the peoples it othered, excluded, and oppressed. Out of proximity, and so out of touch with the stakes, the council thought maybe a little more deliberation was needed. They tabled the resolution for a month or a week. I can't recall exactly the duration. But I do recall the next meeting. Tensions by that point had mounted substantially. And about 15% of our congregation showed up at City Hall, and about an equal number of Baptists, and then an equal number of other interested parties were also there. It was a packed room. It was like Gangs of New York, except it was Churches of Ogden. Oddly, pretty much the only LDS folks in the room were on the council. Our side cried human rights, and the other side cried religious freedom. Our side was more appealing, more consequential, less conceptual, real people, real costs. And I could see the hearts on that council opening. I could see us prevailing, preserving human sanctity, livelihood, and even life. It was a rush. Our faith at work in the world. For a young minister, this was a real confirmation as to the power of our tradition. And then someone from the opposing point of view brought up freedom of speech. That old neocon red herring masquerading as a sacred cow, upon whose misappropriated altar democracy has been, at least in my homeland, subverted, corrupted, and aggression green-lighted. And the council fell for it. Perhaps it was because none of the council people were proximate with gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, or queer folks. Perhaps it was because they did not identify as or with the people about whom they were about to make a decision. And that allowed them to rely on a gross nightmare malfunction of a sacred principle. Perhaps they didn't really want to pass the protections and were just looking for an excuse. But I got to tell you, they looked miserable. I believe they did want to pass the protections. I believe that they did see the people in the room. But this principle of free speech elicited a Pavlovian response, particularly in that part of the world. And look, freedom of expression is essential right up until it is used to accomplish the annihilation of the very rights it strives to protect, which ultimately is the right to life. Ultimately. That's what all these rights are designed to protect. And it is a frequent drug of bamboozlement in my homeland, and it blinded the council to the real human costs of not passing that law. And so they did not. We went from almost certain victory to utter defeat. And more painful yet, along the way, we had learned how meaningful this law would be to those that needed it most. And now they were doubly defeated, for the failure to make a positive change felt like an affirmation of the status quo where they had forever felt less than. They were anguished, devastated. We were all devastated, hopeless, and heartbroken. I remember the following Sunday at church. Turns out an active 15% ripples out to where emotionally the whole congregation had felt invested by their social justice warriors. And when the warriors came back to the village defeated, the whole village felt the loss. For the whole village, or as the case may be, congregation, supported them. It was a tearful, heart-wrenching service. We sang our grief and we held each other. We came together in such a deep, heartbroken way. There was almost a kind of beauty to it. And more than almost. It was profound. We were all in deep lament. But through our grief, we were also moving into a deeper love. Everyone felt it. Everyone felt it. There was something creative on an essential heart-first level, something creative and binding, formative and embracing emerged that Sunday morning. It was a religious experience in a church, no less. And then time gets a little bit fuzzy. My supervisor took some time away to recuperate. And while she was gone, like a week or 3 or something later, a local lawyer stopped by. Said he had read about us in the paper as a group at the fore of this fight. Said he had some legalese that could satisfy those who'd made idols of their principles while also affording us the protections we'd been seeking. We in turn plugged him into the community activist that had led the effort, because we had not led the effort. And as far as I know, ever since then, it has been illegal to fire or evict people based on their sexual or gender identity in Ogden, Utah. We won. And whereas when we had lost, we'd lost doubly, when we prevailed, we won even more than we had intended. For we not only secured life-saving protections, or helped secure life-saving protections, we in the broadest sense there, right? But we, as a congregation, tapped into a deep vein of community spirit because we'd been in deep mourning together. It was almost as if our grief called our hope into being and bonded our community together in the process. I think about that episode a lot. That dynamic. Through grief to gratitude. And the power that somehow channels. There was a magic in our heartbreak, a manifesting in our mourning, some creation in our shared lamentations. Even before our prayers of loss and fear tugged that lawyer out of the interconnected web, our mutual ache created a new, reborn community. Now, I don't imagine that this is exactly a recipe. But that doesn't mean that it didn't happen, doesn't happen, or won't happen. Again and again. Because it did, it does, and it will. Heartbreak is somehow creative. Connection elicits appreciation and cultivates gratitude. So heartbreak is connective, and connection elicits appreciation and cultivates gratitude. And so there is an alchemy at work here, from heartbreak to gratitude. Given the global and local pain of the last year with all its isolation and loss and fear, given our global, national, and local strife, my mind comes back to this idea. There is something about heartbreak that if one survives it, it recreates the world. When I have lost love personally, there has also always been, through that seemingly isolated ache, a reconnecting with the most essential and a recreation of the world. Or more precisely, my relationship with the world. And I am fortified again. And I think this is true for communities and individuals. Grief is an expression of love, and love is essentially creative. And we all have had grief. Our first breath signals a loss. Suddenly severed from the rhythm, warmth, and nourishment of the womb, our first utterance is a lament. I suppose this foundational loss may account for our religious need as we become then responsible for reawakening that feeling of deep connection. But we humans have a mixed record of reawakening that connection. And when it has failed or been corrupted in the particular, we have rejected it categorically, leading to an exponential increase in perceived disconnection and subsequent objectification that leads to, among other tragedies, environmental and social violence. And if we are lucky and if we are alive, we will feel that environmental and social violence as heartbreak. Heartbreak may well be our path back into connection. Heartbreak is creative, for it calls us into the total vulnerability of our interdependent state, and there re-recognizing that state, that grace, that mercy, we are reborn. Grief, in essence, is an act of creative gratitude, expressing our connection. And when I am made aware of the persistence of environmental degradation and the deep othering of racism, I am ushered into a state of outrage and dismay. But it may well be that until we are no longer dismayed, but rather sufficiently heartbroken, until we are heartbroken, we will not have connected thoroughly enough to truly do anything about either. And this carries us to the issue of the day, as we will be moving soon into a town hall offering feedback on the 8th principle. That principle concerns individual and communal action that accountably dismantles racism and other oppressions in ourselves and in our institutions. Now, when the principle was proposed, I was not a fan. It did not seem to me to be a principle, but more of a mission or strategy. But when the principle passed out of the blue at last year's AGM, I then witnessed the utter sense of relief and joy of many black UUs on both sides of the border. And then when it was announced that the motion had been carried out of order and did not count, I saw their heartbreak. I heard their grief and their fear. Now, if you did not see that or hear that heartbreak, you may wonder if you have been, like the Ogden board was, like I was, diverted by a lack of proximity into prioritizing principles that have mistaken their ultimate concern, the service of life. I continue to have what I think are legitimate qualms about the proposed 8th principle. Legitimate, but not important. People are important. I've come to think that principles over people is a form of idolatry. And, I mean, what would it look like if just for a minute we accepted the experience of those who say they feel othered in our midst? If we let that into our hearts and understood how much hangs on this moment for them, What would happen if we found an invitation to love in their grief and an opportunity to share in it? To move with them from centuries of heartbreak into a state of creative gratitude. For it is in that heartbreak where we will reawaken to our fundamental interdependence and learn once more that our liberation is inextricably bound together. And if we do not listen, if we do not respond to the voices who are the most impacted, the most at risk, and the most at need within our own faith tradition, when we absolutely have the power and capacity to do so, I don't really know what we're doing.
Can you hear me okay? I didn't know what you were going to talk about, and it's interesting because I lost a job just for showing up and being who I was. And it's an utterly horrible feeling knowing you didn't do anything other than just show up. But today, I just want to give you a few announcements because we're a busy congregation with a lot going on. So please read your weekly bulletin. Say that 5 times fast. But there's 3 key announcements I particularly want to draw your attention to. So you know that directly after this service, there will be a town hall on the proposed 8th principle. That's after your bagels, I think. So please stick around. And for those at home, we're going to be recording this, and so it can be viewed later. If you choose not to participate in the town hall, feel free to come to the fireside room to read, play a game, or enjoy some fellowship. On Saturday, October 23rd, you are invited to Inward Bound, a heart, mind, spirit event, a participatory event to enhance and enrich our individual spiritual journeys beyond this Sunday experience. So look at the website or the e-bulletin for more information, or see Leslie, who's going to be hosting this. Also, there's going to be a starting point class on Unitarianism or those who are considering joining the church. These are for new or people who are just curious members, and that's on Saturday, October 16th. That starts at 9:30. And next week, we are going to have Reverend Samaya Oakley speaking on gratitude as an act of resistance. That kind of fits into what we were just talking about. So watch the website for descriptions of the spirit zones that day. And I'd like to give an extra welcome to any newcomers or visitors that are here with us today or are joining us from home or wherever they are. And we're glad you're here. If you'd like to learn more about our community, I encourage you to sign in with your contact info on the iPad in the foyer, or click on the link in the YouTube description to subscribe to our newsletter. And if any questions about our congregation or Unitarian Universalism tradition, any of our friendly volunteers wearing the greeter buttons would be happy to chat with you. And after the service, I invite everyone from longtime members to first-time visitors to come downstairs for coffee, tea, conversation, and bagels. Thanks. We extinguish this flame. The world calls to us to live with greater depth, meaning, and purpose.
So I was remarking to Laura earlier in the week, we're making plans for next weekend and talking about getting Samaya and the spirit zones and all that stuff, and I said, well, you know, next weekend is Canadian Thanksgiving. And she said, yeah, here we just call that Thanksgiving. Noted. Anyway, please rise for the benediction. as we leave this sacred place that we have created together through our connection and perhaps through our grief. Circle round for peace. Grab some coffee. We'll see you back up here in 10 minutes.
Are you able to come downstairs?